just a lad. A sailor's life is very hard, the food is always bad. But now I've joined the Navy, I'm aboard a man of war. And now I found a sailor ain't a sailor anymore. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. Well, the Killicock, our mess, he says we had it soft. It wasn't like that in his day when we were up aloft. We like our bunks and sleeping bags, but what's a hammock for? Swinging from the deckhead or lying on the floor. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. They gave us an engine that first went up and down. Then with more technology, the engine went around. We know our steam and diesels, but what's a mainyard for? A stoker ain't a stoker with a shovel anymore. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. They gave us an Alden snap so we could do it right. They gave us a radio, we signal day and night. We know our codes and ciphers, but what's a cipher for? A button tosser doesn't toss a button anymore. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. Your bleeding lot. And now we've got an extra one because they stopped the tot. So we'll put on our civvy clothes, find a pub ashore. A sailor's just a sailor, just like he was before. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. Don't haul on the rope, don't climb up the mast. If you see a sailing ship, it might be your last. Just get your civvies ready for another on the shore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. A sailor ain't a sailor, ain't a sailor anymore. A sailor ain't
Oh, wow. This thing doesn't even make a sound. Oh, well. Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Reactor for today, November 27th, 2020, which means that it's Tristan's birthday today, and so it's gonna be fun fucking around with y'all. How's everyone doing? I see tons of happy birthdays in chat because you guys are the best. So thank you so much. You guys are the kindest. Alrighty. Everyone's liking the hat. That's great. Hello. Things to say. My name's Tristan from the YouTube channel Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I somehow am 32 years old today, and I decided that this was what I was going to put on my head. If you want to catch my regular streams, I stream 3 days a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Mondays from 12 to 2, I do a stream called The Monday Discourse with Mia Mulder. All this is Eastern Standard Time, by the way. Tuesdays from 7 to 9, I do Step Back Tonight, which is sort of an evening show where we chill. But Fridays from 12 to 2, I do The Reactor, which is where I watch content that people have submitted to me, and we have a good time. I go by he, him pronouns, and my work can be found at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. And, Amazon Prime. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber and you are on Twitch right now, give myself a nice sip of some coffee. So, if you are on Amazon Prime, you can, and here's a kitty, you can help an independent Twitch creator. You get one free Twitch Prime subscription per month, and if you use that on an independent Twitch creator, and I don't care who it is, just that you are first of all, Jeff Bezos gets to keep your money if you don't use it, and Jeff Bezos already has more than enough money. And if you don't, he just gets to keep it. And also that Twitch creators rely heavily on, your subscriptions and your support. So it costs you nothing, or should I say it's already included in something you already paid for. So, just do it. And if you help me out, you'll help get this, what's it called? Keep this beast satisfied. Hey, there's a bunch of boxes because I have a bunch of these. Some wonderful person sent me this Emma Goldman print, this framed Emma Goldman print. Sent me 4 of them, and so I'm definitely going to have to do a giveaway or something to try and see who wants them. So we'll see where that goes. Hey, Mr. Beats in the chat saying, happy birthday, thank you very much. Aha. You are not 32, you look 28. That's the first time. First of all, I don't know what's happened. Maybe the quarantine's been good for me. You saying I look like I'm 28, and then I got carded by the liquor store today. Like, they checked my ID, which, they haven't done since I was, 17. So, I don't know. Maybe quarantine's been good for my look or something. I don't know. But yeah. What else can I say except... for most of my life, people thought I looked older than I was. So this is a new phenomenon. Shave the beard and you're 26? I don't know. People have been saying I look like I'm 35 since I was what's it called? People have been saying I look like I'm in my 30s since I was 16. So I don't know. The older you get, the younger people think you are. Maybe you just aged into your body. That's true. Because, one of the funniest things about me is, if you look at, really old photos of me... Actually, let me go find one real quick. You look at, photos of me from, a long, long, long time ago, and it's remarkable how little I have changed in the way that I look. I have done so little... I've changed so little in my look as a person. Let me see if I can find... a really old photo of me. Whatever. Oh, this is this. No wonder I'm one step back, not Tristan. Let's just see if I can find a real aged one of me. Anyways, you turned 39 a couple days ago. Well done. Congratulations. Happy birthday. Belated. So you came out of the womb 6'3". I'm not 6'3". I'm like 6'2", or no, 6'1". Maybe 6'1.5". I don't know. I don't think I know I'm somewhere in that range. I'm like on the I'm not like abnormally tall. I'm on the tall side of normal. I thought you were older than 37. Well, there you go. All right. So, where's a good one? Okay. Here we go. Just scroll for a while. So this one, I'm going to open the image in a tab. I'm going to switch things for a second. So this is a picture of me from 2010. So this is 10 years ago when at the age of 22. As you can see, I have not changed my look at all. Yeah, so there we are. It's just that because of COVID, I haven't gotten a haircut. My hair is better now. There's much less of it than there was back then. More life in it. Yeah, I've kind of turned into a mad scientist. I think I'm actually going to shave it all off, or shave a good chunk of it off after the stream is over. Oh, boy. This seems the closest thing to a birthday cake came out. Shlee, shlim pronouns? Whoa. Okay. Shave it on stream once. Thing is that this office that I'm in that has the webcam in it, you know, is carpeted. I feel like I would, if I shaved my head on stream, I would be cleaning that up forever. I do have better looking glasses now. This is a fact. All right. I do have some more stuff shtick to go through. If you want to check out my latest videos, they both have. I've had new videos come out on Tristan Won't Shut Up and Step Back History in the last couple days. On Step Back History, I released a video about the organization of the White Power movement that it looks like approximately everybody has seen. It's gotten. It's by far probably the most popular video release I've ever made. And then my second video, which came out on Tristan Won't Shut Up, was about Amazon, and it is also the most popular video on that stream so far, or on that channel so far. So, things are going real good on that. And my next video on Step Back is going to be about how Japan rebuilt itself after World War II. I'm reading a great book about it called Embracing Defeat, and yeah, we're gonna take a short break from the White Power video to go into a little bit of Japanese history because I have a special sponsor who wanted me to do a video about Japan, and I then on Tristan Won't Shut Up, I think I'm going to talk about index funds. I'm researching right now for a video on index funds that I hope will be coming out next week. So. All fun stuff. And also, I just got a super chat from Matt Lipton. Thank you for the $5 super chat. You gonna check out the AOC Jagmeet Singh live stream tonight? Probably not. Not that I don't want to, but I play Dungeons and Dragons tonight, so. Okay, Yes. And the last thing I got here is, if there's anybody who is in the chat or anybody who's watching the stream where it's their first time watching the stream, I just want to say to you, welcome aboard. Thank you for coming. And if you want to join in, or if you want to join in the chat, please make yourself known. We've got a great community going on in the chat, so please hop on in. D&D takes priority to watching a live stream. I approve those priorities, yeah. What was that sound? I blew up a balloon. There's a balloon here. You know, because I'm 32. Do you got any D&D stories to share? I mean, I might be killing Thoughtslime's character next week. Who knows? Things could go real bad if, like, you know, a lot of stuff doesn't happen in a short amount of time. So that'll be fun. Theory Lindsey Graham could get like a year in jail for trying to get the governor of Georgia to throw the votes. Do you think that there's a chance in hell that happen? I mean, no, I don't think any politician ever is held accountable for crimes. So that's yeah. Do you DM or are you playing D&D? Tonight I am a player. I'm playing my my psychedelic mushroom druid. So his name is Enar. He is a very old dragonborn druid who is at this point we're really close to the end of the campaign right now. So he's level 19 and he's the what's it called? The Circle of Spores. And so he's like at this point he's almost turned himself into a what's it called? He's turned himself into a Last of Us zombie. So he's like, you know, what's it called? But like at level 19, shit's just like bananas at this point. So, all right. Yeah, level 19 characters are just like, there's so much going on. It's bananas. Okay. I guess we should probably react to some content. Should we not? I know everyone likes when I react to content. That's what you're here for. It is the Reactor. Good coffee. Okay, so the first, I guess I have to turn off the music. The first video we're watching is Sky cancels a show called The Chop because of a revealed quote-unquote Nazi tattoo. So I don't know anything about The Chop. I don't watch any food-related content on the internet. I don't know what I imagine. I'm just assuming that The Chop is some sort of food channel or some sort of food show. So I guess we're just going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out together. We're going to go on a vision discovery. The Chop is apparently some woodworking show. Oh, okay.
The success of the Great British Bake Off has led to thousands of copycat shows. The latest is The Chop, launched this week by Sky History. Now, this is normally seen as a safe, if somewhat dull format. You get people to compete to sort of do a task, be that dancing, cake baking, sewing. But this time around, Sky History sort of found themselves in a controversy that they hadn't bargained for. Let's look at the advert for the show they shared online this week.
I am patient. To a degree.
Oh my goodness, look at this guy. That guy is fucking covered.
If there's going to be people that's going to be getting in my way, there won't be fireworks. So I'm known as the Woodman.
The Woodman?
Yeah, the Woodman. That's what I turn up and I am the Woodman.
Because you work with wood?
Yeah. Smashed it again. I've got big fingers. Yeah, I've got little Cumberlands.
I'm not going to lie to you, Darry. If you were the bloke in my town,
yeah,
you wouldn't be known as the Woodman. You'd be the bloke with all the tattoos. Surely that takes precedence over the Woodman.
That was the hardest group task I've done so far. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Yeah, possibly.
So this is like some like beaming nice guy who turns out to be a Nazi. So this is like so is this like, okay, so I can see multiple ways this goes. This is either a guy who's done time and became a Nazi in prison, or he's just a Nazi who got a Nazi tattoo, or he got some sort of like pagan symbol tattoo that he didn't know was a Nazi tattoo and he's just a blustering kind of like dum-dum. Or he comes from like the kind of punk movement in the 80s or something. I don't know. Let's find out.
But I think this approach is a little bit more subtle, a little bit softer. Yeah. Chop in there.
Nice to see Noam Chomsky.
So it's actually kind of a
Wishing me
classic
happy
advert
birthday.
for a TV program. Like, it looks kind of nice and light-hearted. There's this juxtaposition of he's got tattoos all over his face, but he's quite softly spoken. Lee Mack's there to make the kind of, semi-insulting joke, but soft enough that it sort of lands well. He's saying, I wouldn't know you as the wood guy. I'd know you as the tattoo face guy. Anyway, there was something that the producers of that show hadn't bargained for. There's going to be some researchers, maybe in a little bit of trouble here. I'm not sure. I hope not. I hope no one gets fired for this. But it turns out that those weren't just any old tattoos. No, Lumsden's face is covered with symbols for white supremacy. So this first became apparent because, if you'll have noticed, he had a huge 88 on his cheek. So you can see that.
Yeah, the resolution was really low, so you couldn't really see any of the tattoos. You say just having a big old 88 on your cheek is definitely a red flag. I know, because as somebody, because it's my birthday today, so this just comes out. As somebody who was born in 1988, I am very aware that, fucking 88's been fucking ruined for usernames forever.
There, the 8. Now, I actually didn't know this. I learned about this through this controversy. But it turns out that's one of the most common neo-Nazi symbols. So H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. 8 equals HH. HH equals Heil Hitler. So he there, allegedly, he...
Makeup can cover this. So if you... I have a feeling that this is a person who probably wanted to, what's it called? Red pill some people. If he's a Nazi, then yeah, having Nazi tattoos on a big syndicated TV show. If he could slip that past the censors, I imagine that he was hoping he could red pill some people.
He does have a symbol for Heil Hitler on his cheek. He might deny that was the intention, but that's what it stands for.
Yeah. So if you see under there, what does it say on his top of his lip?
Oh, is that homegrown?
Yeah. So there's a lot of context here. Homegrown 88, and by the way, 88 it also kind of looks like the SS runes. So it has a double meaning.
Yeah. We've got Adam Rutherford, who's sort of academic. Academic broadcaster, wrote a great book, actually, How to Argue with Racists. He sort of pointed out that it wasn't just that 88. It wasn't just the 88 Heil Hitler. There was actually loads of symbols on this guy's face which are associated with white supremacy. So let's take a look at that thread. So he writes, okay, a quick thread on white supremacy symbols.
Altered Carbon had a background character that had both an 88 and a 14 tattoo. Well, yeah, it wasn't like the whole shtick of that scene. I remember that scene because I actually liked Altered Carbon. At least season 1 was pretty good. And the whole idea was, so Altered Carbon, if you guys don't know, the kind of thing about the TV show is that they have these things called stacks, which is basically a backup for your entire memory and personality and stuff like that. And so if your body dies, your body is just called a sleeve, and you can just be replaced in another sleeve. And some people, namely Catholics, are against getting this done to yourself. Anyways, there's a scene in one of the episodes that is kind of funny, actually. Where what happens is that one thing that happens is that Mexicans on Day of the Dead use this as an opportunity so that if any of their relatives are, dead, but their stacks are still intact, that they rent a body for a night, and they sort of have dinner with their dead relatives and stuff like that. But the thing about it is that it's a capitalist system, so there's a strict hierarchy, and good bodies are expensive. And so what they get is that in this Day of the Dead, one of the main characters in the show is Mexican. She decides to have her grandmother to spin up her grandmother in a random body for Day of the Dead celebrations, her abuelita, and they put her in the body of this white supremacist Nazi prison guy. and but like he's like he becomes embodied by this this like sweet Mexican grandma, and it leads to like an objectively funny scene, even though it's like it's using hate symbols, but it's kind of like the that's an example of like a joke about racism where the racist is the joke, not the like. The racist is the joke, and also it's like a commentary on capitalism and stuff like that, and that's the joke. And I thought that was what's it called? That was it was like a genuinely like a pretty clever part of that show, which a little bit underrated. It was pretty good. I mean, it was like schlocky garbage, but it was also like kind of good. It got canceled though because. It got canceled after 2 seasons because Netflix originals, what's it called? Netflix originals walk like a thin line between life and death at all times, it seems.
I spend a lot of time on white supremacy forums online, and they have dozens of really idiotic numerical codes, most of which are substitution ciphers that a 7-year-old would come up with. Darren appears to have 2 on his face, or appears to have these 2 on his face. So AAHH equals Heil Hitler, as we've just discussed. He also has 2316, and the 23 is for W, so the 23rd letter of the alphabet, and the 16 is
16
for
words, that's
P
it.
for power, so it means white power. There's also 18, which is AH, which equals Adolf Hitler. And then 1488, so this seems to be like a really big deal one. The 1488 is a reference to the so-called 14 words coined by white supremacist terrorist David Lane. And these have been used by very...
Yeah, so because if you get more than 3 seasons, unions demand better compensation for the actors and writers for their work. Here's the thing, though, is that Altered Carbon, the way that it works, because of the whole thing with sleeves and stacks and stuff like that, they got around that because every season... almost everyone's recast. Like season 1 and season 2, the main character, despite being the same person, has 2 different bodies and is played by 2 different actors. For the first season, they get this one actor who has been in other Netflix things. I remember him only from House of Cards, where he played the Republican candidate for president in one season. But then the second season, they got... I don't remember what his name is, but he's been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a couple things. He's like the Falcon in the Marvel movies.
Dangerous white supremacists. This isn't just an online meme thing. So Dylan Roof, who committed the Charleston church massacre in 2015, he posted a picture of 1488 written in sand on his website. It actually gets more... Obviously, this is all quite dark, but there's also a ridiculous element to this. So in response to social media users pointing out the symbolism of the tattoos, and especially the 88 one, because it's obviously the biggest, most prominent one, Sky History.
So yeah, they had like the sort of instant out that... They had that easy out that... whatchamacalls it has? The Doctor Who thing to get out of it. Yeah, if I remember correctly, like between season 1 and 2, there's a few actors that bleed over, but there's only like one actor that is like a regular in both season 1 and season 2. And even then, he's like a support character, which because he's a hologram. The show's fucking weird.
Pulled the show. They said it would remain off air until they investigated the meaning of the tattoos. They then followed up with this explanation. So let's get this up. These are Sky tweets. They say, Darren's tattoos denote significant events in his life and have no political or ideological meaning whatsoever. Amongst the various numerical tattoos on his body, 1988 is the year of his father's death. The production team carried out extensive background checks on all the woodworkers taking part in the show that confirmed Darren has no affiliations or links to racist groups, views or comments. Sky History is intolerant of racism and all forms of hatred, and any use of symbols or numbers is entirely incidental and not meant to cause harm or offence. Now, there are 2 problems with this. So one, 88 wasn't the only neo-Nazi symbol on his face. So it'd be quite coincidental if all of these numbers had sort of white supremacist meanings.
He's just really into Viking symbols, guys. And no, what's it called? Like all of the from what I'm guessing about all the symbols he's using, it sounds like this guy's done some time. Like white power and like those numbers and stuff like that. Like that's like those are like prison tats.
The 1988. Maybe you could do one by mistake, but to do a few by mistake, that would be, I suppose, unlikely. Two, and this is probably the biggest problem.
Oh yeah, that scene from Community where the gardener has a swastika on his chest and goes, "It's going to be a maze." Oh boy.
His dad's not dead. So this was an exclusive in today's Daily Mail. So let's get up the headline. So exclusive.
Great job on the racist videos from Faraday Speaks. Wait, are you like the Faraday Speaks? Like the what's it called? The person for Happy Birthday. Thank you so much. Like the person who did the thing, who did the video that we all know. I didn't even know you knew who I was. Well, that's cool. Thank you so much. I watched that video. Glad you're sticking around.
I'm not dead yet. Father, whose death in 1988 was used by Sky History as the chop to explain his son's Nazi-style hull.
Sky is owned by the same company as Fox News. Well, shit. See, like, this is the thing is, like, as I do more research on this this video, or this video series that I've been doing about, like, the white power movement, it's like, man, like, this guy's, like, these symbols, it's like, this is, like, old school white, like, Nazis. Like, this isn't, like, alt-right, what's it called, like, Pepe the Frog or whatever, like, OK symbol bullshit. This is, like, what's it called? Like, it's like, there's, like, this, like, mix of, like, new white supremacist symbols and old ones. It's sort of like, yeah, this is some old school stuff. There's probably some, like, really super cringy, like, alt-right fascist who got a Pepe the Frog tattoo, and oh boy, that is terrifying.
Hitler 88 tattoos reveals he's very much alive. And the story here is really bizarre, I suppose in the style of, like, Mail Online. So let's get a quote from the story. So Trevor, who is the dad, told Mail Online, "I'm here, aren't I? I'm alive and kicking, so I'm not dead yet." Darren's father has short-term memory loss after a serious motorbike crash more than 30 years ago. He lives in a shared house and has support workers popping in to help every day.
Oh my gosh. The guy's dad is alive? Oof. Big oof.
Father added, "I haven't seen Darren for some years. I didn't know he had tattoos over his face or that he was going to be on TV. But if they are saying I'm dead, then I'd like them to know I'm not." No, this story is so...
Hey, Aura GFN, thank you for following. Welcome to the Orc Gang. I feel fine. Oh boy.
Oh, weird. I mean, the dates kind of do add up to, like, maybe he thought he died in a motorbike accident, but actually he just lost his memory. But then it's still...
Oh my god. I don't know, oh man, so he's using the amnesia defense. Oh boy. Ooh, I like this. I know that it's, like, purely aesthetic, and it's, like, probably for anybody who actually cares about, like, what's it called? Like having an organized bookshelf, that, like, organizing your spines by color is, like, you know, verboten. But man, it looks so much better on a shelf, doesn't it?
I mean,
and now in 2020, he's being falsely accused of being a neo-Nazi.
And now, because of appearing on the chop and being accused of being a neo-Nazi, he's been reunited with his dad, who also has short-term memory loss. The whole thing is so bizarre. But again, that wouldn't explain all the various other sort of white supremacist symbols on his face.
The only reason why Sky News is reasonable is because we have broadcast standards that stop you from doing stuff like Fox News here. Yeah, what's it called? If I remember correctly, like, in the UK... it's like your newspapers that are out of control. Like, it's your newspapers that, like, blatantly lie and, like, are always suing people and, like, are, like, notoriously bad. Isn't it? Like, if I remember correctly, like, the British newspapers are just absolutely notorious for like bad journalism and, like, just absolute bullshit. Or yeah.
And it does seem like the explanation here is all fallen apart.
Also, like, let's not be entirely credulous. You've got, like, a really well-built guy who works with wood, whose face is covered in tattoos, has the number 88. Like, there's a 99.9% possibility the guy's a neo-Nazi. Like, you don't need to do the other stuff. Where does this credulity come from, anyway?
I mean, the thing that's funnier actually, because I've said kind of like if I was a
your recent
researcher, I
Vietnam
would
video.
hope I
Thank
would
you,
look up the
Aria.
meaning of these tattoos. But I, before seeing this, didn't know that 88 was Heil Hitler. But for the producers of this show to be told, look, these are a load of neo-Nazi symbols, and they just put out straight away, within a day, like a multi-million-pound company, oh no, nothing going on here, it's all completely fine. 88 was the year his dad died. It's like, come on! Like, what kind of crisis management is that?
And also, it's a history channel.
It is, yeah, they
Which
should
is
know
just
these
super
things.
weird. And also, why are they talking to people like woodwork in the 21st?
I'm assuming that this is happy birthday in Dutch? Veertje? I don't know. It's giving me, I don't know what language that is, but it's giving me Dutch vibes.
Century, and it's the History Channel. Anyway, also, by the way, this is really indicative of how widespread this stuff is. It's a major thing. Cultural sort of adoption of neo-Nazi runes and so on is a thing. Go on Instagram, hashtag Operation Werewolf. Operation Werewolf was the Nazi strategy, basically. If if the Allies won, they would have carried on basically through a terrorist-style, low-intensity insurgency. There are normal people.
Well, it could be Dutch. Congratulations with your birthday. Well, thank you. I was like, it's either Dutch or Afrikaans, because Afrikaans is sort of like an offshoot of Dutch, right? Are you eating any cake today? I am not eating any cake today. Today is sort of a busy day for me, actually, even though it's like my birthday day. And my day off, I got, because of like D&D tonight and because of the stream and everything like that. We're doing like my party, like my birthday party tomorrow night with like a bunch of friends on Zoom, and tomorrow is when I'm gonna have like my actual like, we're gonna do some more fancy food and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's the situation. So no cake today, but tomorrow.
Walking around who see themselves as part of Operation Werewolf. Be interested. Maybe we should get this guy here on a lie detector. Get him to take his shirt off, because God knows what's under there. if that's what he's willing to show people.
That's true.
And get him on a lie detector.
Have a great party tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah, since this is my COVID birthday, I don't know. Things like it's hard to have a party on. I was talking about this. Like, it's kind of hard to have like a normal party on Zoom, because like how in your typical party, when you go to a party, it's not like everybody is all talking to each other in the same conversation. If the party's over a size of like 5 people. You're always going to have, like, you're going to be talking to some random person in a corner for a bit, and then you're going to go talk to somebody else, and so you bounce around. It's not until, like, the end of the night when you're like, what is Tristan's special birthday meal? Probably a steak. That's what I'm looking for. Anyways, yeah, so, yeah, then, tonight, so, wait, what was I going to be saying? Yeah, so, like, at your typical party, like, the conversation, like, branches into, like, different break-offs, but you can't really do that on, like, a Zoom call. You can't, like, go to a party and talk to, like, the one person at the party. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I've never really had a Zoom party before, and I'm hoping by next November, we've solved... We're not in a pandemic anymore, and I can do something more in person. But yeah, the Dutch have a tradition of congratulating everyone on the occasion of someone's birthday if they're acquainted. This is why birthday parties have people sit in a circle. That way, germs can be passed around efficiently when someone joins a group. Oh boy. breakout rooms on Zoom. Yeah, I'm thinking of using those in some capacity. We're gonna see how it goes. I've never done that. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes, big bad skeptical wolf, and everybody. Sorry, there's just so many of you. You guys are so great. Oh. So wait, you're saying that like Dutch people on their birthday they just sit in a circle the entire night, or what is it? Like people sit in a circle. I'm confused. Oh, you congratulate. Okay. 32. Yes, I am 32 now. It's always good when you have a even-numbered year for your age, right? You sit in a circle and talk about stuff. Cool. I'm 12 years older than you. Yeah. What's it called? As far as like internet people go, I'm pretty ancient. Like what's it called? The only like YouTuber, I think there's a few YouTubers who are older than me, but like the only big bread tuber I know who's older than me is Natalie, who is like exactly a month older than me. Natalie's like birthday's in October. It's like a month before, but she was also born in 1988. Anyways, that was a fun Novara Media video. Thank you so much for that. Let's see what comes next. Phoebe just tried to jump onto the table, and it did not go well. Wouldn't Richard Wolf be a bread tuber? I guess, kinda. You heard that AOC will be streaming with Jagmeet Singh tonight. I have heard that. I wish that I could. I wish that I could see it, but I have plans for tonight. So this is Monty Python spam. Whether this is just the Monty Python spam sketch or if this is some like Spanish version, we'll see what happens. I don't know what this is exactly. Oh yeah, Gesser is Bo the fifth column, and I imagine he is older than 32. But you never know. The beard might just be misleading.
What you got then?
Oh, this is just the spam sketch, just with really, really low resolution.
Oh, there's egg and bacon, egg, sausage and bacon, egg and spam, egg, bacon and spam, egg, bacon, sausage and spam.
I'm guessing that this is like kind of a joke about like how British people had all of those like, what's it called? All of those quotas or whatever, those rations. It was like ration, like what's it called? They did rationing for food for like ages, and yeah. So that's a thing.
Spam, bacon, sausage and spam. Spam, egg, spam, bacon and spam. Spam, egg and spam. Spam, baked beans, spam and spam. Oh, lobster thermidor, crevettes with Mornay sauce, garnished with truffle pate brandy and a fried egg on top and spam. Have you got anything without spam in it? Well, spam, egg, sausage and spam. There's not got much spam.
Someone said it's a low resolution for the time. Yeah, but like this is like a particularly low resolution. Like this is a particularly low resolution version of this sketch. Franco demanded Monty Python air in the shittiest aspect ratio, and we must live with the consequences. Oh God.
Spam in it? I don't want any spam.
Why can't you have egg, bacon, spam and sausage?
That's got spam in it.
Not as much as spam, egg, sausage and spam.
Look, could I have egg, bacon, spam and sausage without the spam? Ugh. What do you mean?
Also, this sketch is good because everybody, all the three main people are either the ones that are not racist assholes, or what's it called, is transphobic assholes. Two of the people in this sketch are dead, and one of them is just the person who took the Monty Python brand and just tried to become the biggest sellout imaginable. So, yeah, take it.
I don't like spam! Can't have egg, bacon, spam and sausage without this.
Actual question. Okay, so here, okay, this is gonna be a bit of a spicy take for Tristan, because I know how this is. I actually do like Spam. It is actually tasty, and especially if you fry it. Eric Idle, you mean for the sellout? Yeah. Eric Idle is the one who's like made like Spam a lot and like tries to always like, he's the one who's always doing the what's it called, he's always doing the like Monty Python, like, you know, random things. He's the one who's been trying to juice his Monty Python cred for money more than the other people. That's sort of like been his shtick. Because he hasn't really had a whole lot happen since Monty Python, while everyone else has had careers or something. Yeah. But yeah, bit of a spice. The thing is, it's a spicy take because what's it called? Spam is good. Spam is real good. And you know, I often get in shit for saying that, but yeah, I think it's good.
Spam! Why not? Ah, it would be egg, bacon, spam and sausage with it. I don't like spam!
Don't make a fuss, dear. I'll have your spam. I love it. I'm having spam. Spam, baked beans, spam, and spam.
Baked beans are off!
Well, can I have spam instead?
You mean spam?
I've not actually eaten Spam. Is it some kind of meat? Yeah. So what it is it stands for spiced ham or something like that. But what it is basically it started off as World War II army rations. So it was sort of like World War II GI soldier like ration meat. So it's just a can of shelf-stable ham, but it's sort of like has a consistency of pate. Anyways, the thing, though, is that a lot of World War II soldiers came home from the war and they sort of gathered a taste for it. And so there was actually like consumer demand for Spam because they were like, oh, like I really want that like canned meat that we had in the military or back in like World War II. And so they started selling it in like the 50s and it started, you know, doing all right. Because people only really cared about the quality of the ingredients of their food in like the last like maybe like 30 years. And then the other thing is that a lot of places where there were a lot of American troops, either during World War II or after World War II, also developed a taste for Spam. So Spam is in like places like South Korea and Hawaii are actually part of the local cuisine now because they spent so much time with like a lot of American troops there, and so they kind of have also developed a sort of familiarity with like, you know, this thing that started as like an army ration type thing. So I don't know, it's got a cool story behind it too. Yeah, what's it called? In Hawaii, you can get like Spam Pokeballs, and they're pretty good. And yeah, the other place where you can get where Spam is pretty popular is Korea. A lot of like you can like they do a lot of Korea, like in Korea they do a lot of food with Spam too. Next up, we've got, what do we got next? Oh, I've seen this video, but it's good. So was Odo a fascist collaborator? So Odo is a shape-shifting police officer in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. This is a long one, but we could talk about how boneless cops and stuff. I suppose it's easier to buy Spam than a full ham. The thing is that Spam doesn't actually taste like ham. Not really. It tastes like Spam. It's kind of hard to describe. Yeah, South Korea is where Spam has become food because has become like part of the cuisine is because there's a gigantic U.S. military base in South Korea, and there's still a lot. They still collaborate quite a bit with the U.S. Military. So anywhere where the U.S. military in like the 1940s and 1950s spent a significant amount of time, it seems like Spam has become part of the cuisine.
In January 1993, Star Trek Deep Space Nine premiered and introduced us to the best cast of characters in Trek. Captain Benjamin Sisko, the space dad who gets space mad, Major Kira Nerys, the best character, and Quark, the other best character.
Hey, Phoebes.
Hello?
Young Star Trek fans in the 90s also related to Odo, the outsider. Star Trek always had an outsider character that was appealing to viewers of these eras of Star Trek because being a geek who watched Star Trek was itself a mark of being an outsider. Nowadays, the culture has changed to the point that being a geek is dominant, and perhaps because of this, the outsider character on Deep Space Nine isn't as sacrosanct and has had something of a critical reevaluation, at least in some circles. Let's find out why. Odo is a changeling, a shapeshifter whose natural state is a liquid, a goo. He was sent by other changelings, without any memory, into space to learn more and eventually report back. Odo was recovered by Bajoran scientists who experimented on him until he learned to assume other shapes. During this time, Bajor was under occupation by the Cardassians, whose society is formed around admiration for and obedience to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, if what I said is true, then I imagine that Spam has a little bit of something in Germany. Yeah, because I mean, you want another place where there's just like massive U.S. military presence. It's in Germany, and I wonder if Western Germany has some Spam. It's sold over here. Okay.
The state.
Maybe because Germans probably had access to meat a bit easier than Hawaiians did, that Spam didn't become, like, central to the cuisine.
More to life than duty to the state.
A Federation viewpoint, if ever I heard one.
Odo eventually left the laboratory and was hired to be chief of security on the space station Terok Nor. When the Bajoran resistance drove the Cardassians from Bajor, Odo remained as chief of security, somehow, keeping his post under Federation administration of the base, now called Deep Space Nine. Odo learned that his people, the Changelings, controlled a vast interplanetary empire called the Dominion. Eventually, the Dominion tried, unsuccessfully, to conquer the Federation, the Klingon Empire, and the rest of the Alpha Quadrant of the galaxy. Once the war was over, Odo resolved to rejoin his people. So, that's his backstory. That is everything someone needs to know who has not seen Deep Space Nine. Now, here is where things get complicated. In order to preserve Odo as a sympathetic character...
Also, I should mention, because I want to, that Kelly got me this shirt for my birthday. So, it's a very nice shirt. She noticed that I have no long sleeve shirts, and so she decided to get me a shirt.
Character to the audience of the series, his time serving the Cardassians is often whitewashed. In the Season 5 episode, Things Past, following a conference about the former occupation, Odo is revealed to be very popular among the Bajorans.
What was it the moderator said? That you may have worked for the Cardassians, but your only master was justice.
Oh my god, I remembered. I got like visibly angry at that line. Yeah, I'm really happy that Renegade Cut did this video because while Odo was legit. He was good. What's it called? The show did such a good job at making the character likable and having good storylines for him. But goddamn, did they have to whitewash? They took this story of basically him being a Nazi collaborator, but they tried so many things to try and whitewash it, and every time they make mention about him being the constable on, or the security officer when it was under occupation by basically space Nazis. So that's that's a no, Phoebe, why did you do that? Then we got to go back and find where we left off. She started. Yeah, so like, it's definitely like every time, like the Odo episodes where they don't mention this part of his backstory are great. Every time they start veering into, oh yeah, Odo was here during this, it just instantly made the show awkward. I don't know why they insisted on having this be part of his backstory and it wasn't like edited at some point in the development of the show.
During this time, Bajor was under occupation by the Cardassians, whose society is formed around admiration for and obedience to the state. People, the Changelings, controlled a vast interplanetary empire called the Dominion. Eventually, the Dominion tried, unsuccessfully, to conquer the Federation, the Klingon Empire, and the rest of the Alpha Quadrant of the galaxy. Once the war was over...
See, this is the thing. This is why I need... I don't think this video will do super well because, it's probably not what people are expecting. But the Tristan Won't Shut Up video that I plan on making about Star Trek is like... it has such a reputation as something like lame that people wouldn't like. But seriously, it's like when it's doing well, it's doing real well. And I can't wait to try and convince people to watch the show, which is the next experimental video I'm going to make on Tristan Won't Shut Up, probably after I finish this next video. Just started to watch your content. Thank you for the hard work and happy birthday. Well, thank you, digital grandson. Much appreciated. Welcome. I'm so happy that you've decided to start watching my content.
Odo resolved to rejoin his people. So, that's his backstory. That is everything someone needs to know who has not seen Deep Space Nine. Now, here is where things get complicated. In order to preserve Odo as a sympathetic character to the audience of the series, his time serving the Cardassians is often whitewashed. In the Season 5 episode, Things Past, following a conference about the former occupation, Odo is revealed to be very popular among the Bajorans.
What was the modern...
DS9's ideology is really confusing. Well, I mean, yeah, it was a show written in... So first of all, it's a Clinton-era show written in the 1990s. For its time, it's pretty progressive. Like, think about some of the things they did on this show. They have, like, a terrorist... one of the main characters is a terrorist, where they actually, like, portray her in a positive light. They have... One of the things that I thought was really interesting about Star Trek, which was... Because, like, Star Trek is fairly often pretty, like, against religion. And in this show... They talk about like they actually show like the kind of like the tensions between like, the importance of religion to a group of people who have like gone through the shit and have been occupied. Like, I don't know, like a DS9 is a fucking like it's 7 seasons. It's hundreds of episodes. There's so much like really good stuff to dig into it.
Narrator said that you may have worked for the Cardassians, but your only master was justice.
But is that true? Collaborationism is the term used to describe active cooperation with the enemy against the interests of the people, particularly during times of war.
It's definitely not surprising that there are some like, problematic shit in it. Definitely. But like, if I remember correctly, like this show did an entire episode about comfort women, which like is still like a really awkward conversation that South Korea and Japan still have to this day about the legacy of comfort women, and also with like Section 31, it has some like actual criticisms to say about like American ideals and like the sort of like undermining of it through the deep state and stuff like that. Like they did some pretty intense shit.
Or when the people are under occupation by an invading enemy. This is commonly used to describe those who cooperated and appeased fascist occupations during World War II. Whether or not Odo himself is Bajoran is irrelevant. He is a Bajoran citizen, or at least a permanent resident. Odo was chief of security of Terrak Nor. He was hired by Gul Dukat, the Cardassian prefect of Bajor, who was responsible for the death and enslavement of countless Bajorans. Dukat was Odo's superior officer.
Just for the people who don't watch Star Trek, so you know, like, these Cardassians, like, these are Cardassians. It's like, kind of like Cobra people here. And they're basically space Nazis. Like, that's their, like, throughout the entire show of Deep Space Nine, they're coded. Like, the entire premise of Deep Space Nine, so that you know, is that there's this planet called Bajor, which is full of all of the characters you see that look like humans. They just have, like, little bumps on their nose. So, like, and what happened is that the Federation, which is basically Space America, shows up to sort of oversee the reconstruction of Bajor after these people, these space Nazis, the Cardassians, start, how do I explain it? They occupied the planet for like 70 years, and it's basically like reminiscent of like the Holocaust. Like, they talk about like war crimes and mass deaths and just like all sorts of horrible stuff, that they were enslaved and everything like that. And then they were able to, through like kind of like a, you know, IRA type situation, able to overthrow the Cardassians, and the Federation sort of came in to ensure their security. And the Federation is going like, hey, like, we're just here to get you on your feet so that you can, like, stand on your own and do all right. But then secretly, because the Federation is sort of also like the European Union or the United Nations, they also are, like, low-key trying to get them into the Federation. But, like, the Federation doesn't really like religion, doesn't really like all these, like, sort of, like, very spiritual aspect. And the thing is that Bajorans, maybe because of the occupation or you know, just in general, are very religious, very spiritual people, and so like that rubs up against them in a kind of awkward way. And it's just like it's such like a well written show. And like the fact that it came out in the 90s, the fact that it says Star Trek on it makes a lot of people like, ooh, like, I'm not gonna watch that. But it's actually like low key like a very good show.
Which means Odo followed Dukat's orders. During the aforementioned episode Things Past, we see that Odo was responsible for falsely arresting 3 Bajorans with circumstantial evidence. These 3 Bajorans were executed. Odo himself was present during the execution. When Odo...
I never got the impression the Federation doesn't like religion. Just that, yeah, it's just, I guess I misworded. They are strongly secular, and the thing is that Bajor is very much not. And every time that there's like friction between the two, it usually has to do with a religious thing. And it gets even more complicated because the sort of like Federation commander, on his like first week on the job running the space station that's protecting Bajor, some like kind of like the Bajoran version of the Pope declares that he is like sort of like some sort of like prophet or emissary, like some sort of like important figure, and there's some sort of prophecy surrounding him right before she dies. And it like, he's like, oh God. And like, so he's not only not religious and trying to like be part of this Federation thing, but the thing is like also not insignificant amount of Bajorans start thinking he's this like savior figure. And it's a really, and like this leads to a whole lot of really good drama through the whole show, and it's like genuinely like leads to some amazing there's also the episode of Deep Space Nine where like oh god, there's so many good episodes. Yeah. Oh man.
The secret is revealed at the end of the episode. Major Kira Nerys, a Bajoran officer and former member of the Bajoran resistance movement, asks Odo if he had ever been responsible for any other wrongful arrests, wrongful convictions, unjust treatment, or unjust executions. Odo responds...
Oh yeah, there's another wrinkle on the story of this show too, which is not only that, so like the Bajoran religion is focused around worshiping a race of people that they call the prophets. Just like the generic gods, they just call them the prophets. And at first, the Federation is like, okay, yeah, this is their religion, this is their superstition, like whatever. But then they find out that Bajor is also the close to the first stable wormhole ever discovered. So like it's like a portal between one part of the galaxy and another part of the galaxy that like they've never been to before. And so, and that the only reason it's kept stable is because there's like these fourth dimensional timeless aliens that don't even understand how time works that live in it and keep it stable. And they're like, oh, that's the prophets, because to them the future and the past are the same, and it leads to all sorts of cool shit. But it also means that the area of space becomes like super, super, super strategically important because like this new wormhole showed up and everything. It's good shit.
Responds only that he doesn't really know. He claims that he hopes not. The question lingered in the air. How many more Bajorans were not treated justly following Odo's investigations and arrests? Well, let's look at the Cardassian justice system. In the Season 2 episode Tribunal, this system is explored. Chief Miles O'Brien is arrested under erroneous charges.
I always thought that lacking separation of church and state would have precluded Bajor from joining the Federation. I mean, we don't exactly know how Bajor's government works, because they do have like, it's weird because like they do have a prime minister, and the prime minister, but the prime minister is sometimes also a cleric, which makes things a little complicated. Like first minister, like what's it called? Takar. Whenever they do that, they did a whole episode with him, like a kind of like Terry Schiavo type situation where he was brain dead, and it was a whole very, very bittersweet episode because it was all about, because he started dating one of the main characters and stuff. But anyways, I don't really know, like they don't really say how much like say that the religious or authority has over the government or anything like that. But on top of that, I imagine that the Federation was willing to like bend rules because it was like super part of like what's it called? They were trying to like they would definitely bend the rules because of like the wormhole and stuff. You're thinking of Vedek Bareil. Okay, yeah. Thoughts on The Expanse? It's decent. I like it. I've enjoyed parts of it. I'm trying to think of like major criticisms I've had of The Expanse, but I can't think of any. In many ways, I think that it feels like a series that should have stayed novels and that it didn't translate to TV as well. Because I keep thinking like, man, there's so much world building happening in this show that they have to gloss over really fast because TV, you don't really have the time to explore the world. So they're just like really quickly plastering over what is obviously much deeper lore, and that kind of like it feels like you're just like taking a quick tour, and before you can like stop and like figure out anything about any of these places, you're moving on to the next thing, which like, you know, is what it is.
And he is found guilty before the trial has begun.
Hey, thank you, Cyomorphosis and Augmenting Path. Thank you for following. Welcome to the Arcade.
The trial itself is only a spectacle for the Cardassian people. It is meant to inspire confidence in the state and to keep the civilian population under their thumb. Nobody is ever found innocent. Every trial is a mock trial, but results in genuine consequences, often execution. O'Brien is only released when the Cardassians' plot is discovered, and the charges are dropped only to spare themselves embarrassment. Alleged criminals are stripped of their clothes before trial, then processed by...
Yeah, and also, like, to say the thing, like, this is sci-fi, not fantasy. The religion doesn't turn out to be true in, like, that sense. It's sort of like, what's it called? It's sort of that thing about sufficiently advanced technology being indistinguishable from magic type thing. What they do in Deep Space Nine, which is, I think, is probably the more clever way to do it, is that they kind of keep the line between is this supernatural or is this just, like, exotic science? They keep it vague enough that, you know, the answer really is up to you.
By removing teeth and other identifying samples. With these things in mind, though Odo claims ignorance, it could be argued that the true answer to the question, how many more Bajorans were not treated justly following...
Sorry, I just gotta... Look at that Chief O'Brien dad bod you got going there, man. This is now in... Chief O'Brien, this is your moment.
These things in mind.
We're having our, what's it called? We're having our dad bod moment, and this is for you.
Though Odo claims ignorance, it could be argued that the true answer to the question, how many more Bajorans were not treated justly following Odo's investigations and arrests, is actually all of them. Every last one. In addition to the Cardassian justice system only engaging in a mockery of due process, Bajorans arrested during the occupation were almost certainly not treated as well as Cardassians.
Chief O'Brien comics are pretty
this means
good.
That Bajorans arrested on non.
Kelly, my wife Kelly, really likes Chief O'Brien. I think he's like one of her favorite characters, and I've got to show her the Chief O'Brien comics at some point. The thing is that she knows Chief O'Brien through D Space Nine. We're just now watching TNG, so she wouldn't really get the idea of Chief O'Brien being this like expendable background character like he was in TNG.
Non-capital offenses would nonetheless receive capital punishment. Odo is undoubtedly responsible for the execution of many other Bajorans who committed non-capital offenses. The idea that Odo was simply a neutral party is deeply ignorant about the power dynamics of an occupying force versus an enslaved people. Odo's protestations of being unbiased are irrelevant because he was still working for Gul Dukat. Odo was not a mediator between the Bajoran people and the Cardassian people, doling out justice as a neutral third party.
You don't like what's it called? I like Discovery because it's all sci-fi, no Q, no interdimensional beings. I mean, I guess Discovery does have the fucking mycelial network, which goes to some weird fucking places. And also, Q episodes are objectively hilarious, so I don't know. Like, yeah, Q is not exactly the most hard sci-fi part of Star Trek, but Q, what's it called? What's his name again? It's like not John Rhys Davies. What's it called? The guy who plays Q. He, despite the fact that he kind of sucks as a person, he fucking nails the role of Q, and Q episodes are pretty funny. They're great, like, comedy episodes. Q on DS9? Q wasn't on DS9, was he? He was on Voyager a lot. John Delancey, that's it. Yeah. Q was on TNG and Voyager, and he was great on both of those. Oh, yeah, he was in episode DS9 with Vash. Right. I forgot about that episode.
He got his information from Dukat and from the Cardassian military, which means Odo investigated only what he was allowed to investigate. Terrak Nor was a military
I have to always remember, there are people who don't watch Star Trek who are watching the stream right now. Q is a character that is basically like a kind of interdimensional super being that likes to fuck with random people on Star Trek shows. So he's basically omnipotent, which leads to some very funny, silly episodes.
Installation. That means practically every Cardassian living on the station was in the military, not a civilian. The only Cardassians Odo could have potentially arrested were Cardassian
He is
officers,
Loki, yeah.
And it is simply absurd to think that the Cardassian officers were subject to the same consequences as Bajoran
Oh my
slaves
god, yeah,
if
Evil
the
Riker
Cardassian
DS9, I forgot about that
was
too.
overseeing all the operations. Dukat himself was undoubtedly guilty of many crimes, but he was certainly never arrested by Odo. A police officer works for the state.
Yeah, there's Red Foreman as a Cardassian, by the way. I just wanted you guys all to know. Red Foreman. He also likes to fuck with Chuds on H. Yeah, I know John Delancey sucks. I know that John Delancey is not a good person. But he's really good at playing Q.
A police officer is not a neutral third party that settles disputes between the state.
Like, I think there's one episode where Q's taken seriously, and it's the pilot of TNG.
And the civilian population. Odo was told that being chief of security would help maintain order on Terrak Nor, but the state does not maintain a neutral order. It maintains a...
What did John Delancey do? I don't follow actors. I don't know exactly. He has some not so nice things to say about... Like, he's got some not so nice things to say about people with autism, if I remember correctly. But I don't remember the other stuff.
Particular kind of order, favoring a particular kind of people, and sustaining a particular power dynamic. It is not possible to be a neutral actor within an oppressive system. As Desmond Tutu once said, if you are neutral in situations...
I can't believe, like, what's it called? Red Foreman. There's an episode of Star Trek Voyager that has Andy Dick in it, and come on, everybody. How can you not love that?
Situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Odo adhered to the law, but the law set up by the state had Bajorans in slavery. In addition to this, and what is most damning, is that Odo must have arrested other members of the Bajoran.
Oh yeah, isn't evil Riker part of the Maquis, which is basically Space Antifa?
Resistance whose only crimes were fighting for the freedom of their people under a terrible and costly occupation. In Things Past and other episodes, we see that the Bajoran resistance was active on Terrak Nor, and if Odo was chief of security, then Odo was the one investigating the resistance, making the arrests, and sending them to be processed by the Cardassian justice system, ultimately to be executed. That means that if a Bajoran tried to escape, capturing that Bajoran slave would have fallen under the authority of the chief of security, Odo. If a Bajoran
God, I forgot how much this show went to some dark places.
Tried to fight back, that Bajoran would have been arrested under the authority of the chief of security, Odo. The Bajoran resistance was obviously illegal, which meant any resistance activities on Terrak Nor were thwarted by Odo. The fact that Odo does not arrest Kira does not change what his job must have been for years serving as chief of security of Terrak Nor. In the Season 7 episode, When It Rains, Odo's collaboration was finally brought up by a Cardassian.
Odo wasn't a collaborator.
I suppose that depends on your definition of collaborator.
Odo claims that he eventually came to understand that the Cardassians had little interest in justice. He says he only learned this too late. However, in a flashback of Odo first being recruited by Gul Dukat to be Chief of Security of Terrak Nor, it is clear that Odo already knows what will happen to the people he arrests, guilty or innocent.
I'm talking about order here. Justice. There's very little justice in the Cardassian occupation of Bajor.
Furthermore, it is clear by some of his...
They were able to keep Odo sympathetic because all of this stuff about him being a collaborator and stuff like that is not like it's the focus of like maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and I think they do a lot of work to try and not draw too much attention to this part of his backstory for most of the show.
Statements after the occupation that he prefers some aspects of Cardassian justice more than the Federation system of justice.
You know, Cardassian rule may have been oppressive, but at least it was simple.
Like I've noticed, like when I watched this episode the first time, you notice that his more like these episodes where he's pointing out that he has these like sort of like fashy tendencies are from the earlier seasons because I think they learned very early on that it was making people not like Odo, and so he gets a lot more sympathetic later in the show.
Would you like? It was safer then.
Unless you happen to be a Bajoran.
Odo's defenders might claim that had he not taken the position of Chief of Security, whoever the Cardassians chose instead may have been worse. But that is the same rationalization that Gul Dukat uses throughout the series to justify millions of Bajoran deaths and enslavement. That another Cardassian would have been worse.
I protected them in so many ways. Cared for them as if they were my own children.
You are responsible for the murder of over 5 million Bajorans.
That's like, this is a really great episode because this is Gul Dukat, who is basically Space Hitler, and he's stuck with Cisco, and Cisco like breaks his leg or something, and they're stuck on this planet, and it's just like this bottle episode that goes really well, and it's a huge turning point actually in the plot of the TV show. And at one point, Gul Dukat breaks down and basically points out that he was like this genocidal maniac, and it's just solid acting all the way through.
On your watch, 2 are false. I tried to save lives during my administration.
But basically, like what this episode does that's really good, is it really like worms down to like the layers of him trying to explain and justify the horrific things he done, which like a lot of horrible people have done in history, where like they try and like build these layers of rationalization so that they can live with themselves, and this episode breaks them down, and it's just really good. The plot of the episode's pretty simple, but it's just an excuse to have this long dialogue between these two characters. It's fucking great.
If it hadn't been for me, the occupation would have been much worse.
And you want to thank you?
In addition to this being a hypothetical and an equivocation, it ignores the fact that if Odo or Dukat actually opposed the occupation on moral grounds, they could have chosen to actively resist or resign their posts. it ignores the option of active resistance, and only gives the option of working with the state. If the argument, it could have been worse, does not hold up for Dukat, it does not hold up for Odo just because we like him more. Odo was a collaborator during the occupation, and the series' insistence that he wasn't doesn't really hold up to scrutiny. He may have been conflicted about it, and he may have regretted it, but his personal feelings both during and after the occupation are not particularly helpful to those he arrested.
I really hope that Renegade Cut, if Renegade Cut, like, I mean, I can't do media analysis. I have no media skills. But man, I would love to see an episode like this about Kira, because she's like one of the most interesting characters on the show, and she's really, really cool, and it'd be really good to see.
And had executed. So, why did Odo feel comfortable enough to do this? Let's put a pin in that and look at Odo as a cop. After the occupation, Odo continued as Chief of Security under the newly renamed Deep Space Nine, now a Bajoran station under Federation administration. Odo spends much of his time as Chief of Security violating the civil rights of the residents of the space station.
I decide who has rights and who doesn't on this promenade.
You better ask your Federation superiors about that one.
For example, in the episode Past Prologue, he argues in favor of locking up two
The
women
sisters.
as a precautionary measure because they were seen in Quark's bar. Even though Quark is at worst suspected of being a petty thief and smuggler of harmless wares,
Kira's Antifa as fuck. Yeah. And also the thing is, like, she has a great character arc as somebody who spent years as a fucking guerrilla soldier, and like, what's it called? Like, basically as a terrorist leader. And then they win, and not only is she like seriously mentally like scarred by the experience of basically fighting for decades, or at least like a couple decades, but then on top of that, she like has to, like, some of the big stuff is about her like kind of trying to end the war in her mind, and trying to like, you know, like break out, and like trying to like kind of like return back to being a person after being in, like, you know, just exposing yourself to that much violence for that long, and learning to like overcome her hatred and stuff like that, to the point where like she comes full character arc, and like near the end of the show, she trains a group of Cardassians on how to be terrorists against the Cardassian government to free them. And it's like it's just, oh man, show is solid.
Odo still feels it necessary to violate his civil rights whenever possible. Odo even illegally wiretaps his establishment.
Is that legal? It's in the best interest of station security.
And who decides what is in the best interest of station security? Odo alone, who believes, by his own admission, that he decides who has rights on the promenade. In fact, Odo consistently demands that Captain Sisko bypass civil rights and local laws to allow himself to establish Deep Space Nine as a police state.
If I was given the authority I asked for, instead of being tied to Starfleet regulations, there wouldn't have been any security breaches.
Odo becomes furious when a Starfleet officer is assigned to work with him, because it would mean he wouldn't be able...
Thoughts on Babylon 5? I haven't watched a whole lot of it, unfortunately.
To decide who has
I have
rights.
heard it's very good, though.
This is not to say Odo's past collaboration with the Cardassians...
When our Nazis watch this show, I wonder what they see. Very good question.
...makes him a fascist, but Quark certainly seems to think so.
Fascist! Failure!
In the episode Bar Association, Quark's employees form a union under the leadership of Rom, Quark's brother. Chief O'Brien, Dr. Julian Bashir, and other members of the senior staff support unionization and the picket line.
Fucking solid episode, too.
Odo is the only senior staff character who is ideologically opposed to the union, or mob as he calls it, and sides with the capitalist. In this case, Quark.
From what Chief O'Brien tells me about strikes, they sound like trouble. I don't like mobs.
I have not watched any Stargate shows either.
Opinion, if you need one to get what you want,
Communism? Love it.
That makes no sense. If people are desperate enough to strike, then what
Here we go. Yes, here we go. I knew that he shows the line.
Be very important to them and worth getting.
Let's do this.
This scene illustrates
See, like, there's a thing like, what's it called? Everyone was like, oh, like the show, like, you know, it was weak sauce, liberal stuff, and it's like, wait a minute.
The state and the
This whole
police
episode about unions and stuff like
specifically
that.
side with capital over the interests of the people. Even Odo, who deeply dislikes Quark, instinctively sides with him to maintain that aforementioned specific form of order. An order that is not neutral and often...
Like, they do this episode, and this episode is like an explicitly pro-union episode. It's so good.
...often favors the powerful over the powerless.
Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains.
Yes! Fucking Rom. Oh.
Odo frequently confuses order with justice, something pointed out to him by the female changeling. Odo's people, according to her, have an inherent need for order. Because of this, Odo's priorities always favor this order, even if this order has an absence of justice. Speaking of the changelings, at the end of the 5th season and the beginning of the 6th season, the Dominion occupied Bajoran space, including DS9. Major Kira began a resistance movement that included Jake Sisko, Ra.
What's the status of unions in Star Trek? If I remember correctly, I think Chief O'Brien or something says in the episode that his dad was a union man or something like that. So,
And eventually even Quark. Odo, on the other hand, took a role on the council that governed the station, collaborating with the Dominion, once again justifying it as being better than the alternative instead of actively resisting, because resistance would cause disorder. When Kira
Brian's union ancestors in the 20th century.
Soldiers and the Cardassian soldiers, Odo is furious, and Kira is rightfully offended.
It's as if you're so invested in making sure the station runs smoothly, you've forgotten there's a war going on.
Odo reluctantly agrees to help Kira with the resistance, but at the key moment when he was meant to turn off the security systems, Odo was instead linking with another changeling. This resulted in Rom being arrested and sentenced to be executed. He was only freed due to the heroic actions of Quark of all people. Odo's defenders might say that he was being manipulated by the female
Star Trek's economy, they do say that, like, there's no money. It's pretty well implied it's post-scarcity, but also they go to extreme lengths to make sure that they don't say it's socialist. It's they kind of, the way they try to portray it is that it's like post-capitalist more than anything, but even then it's sort of they keep it intentionally vague because they don't really, I don't think anybody wants to step on anyone's toes or something like that.
Changeling, which is both true and misleading. Yes, the female changeling did use the link to sway Odo to her side, but he still chose to side with her of his own free will. Odo was not possessed by a Pa-wraith or something. It's Odo just really loving being all gooey with another changeling.
He gooey horny.
It's not mind control, it just feels good and natural to him. And it can't just be swept under the rug by saying he was overwhelmed by how it felt. Anyway, Odo sides with the Dominion for a while before switching sides again to help Kira. This somehow absolves Odo of everything he did.
Yeah, like, I mean, if they did openly say that, like, Star Trek, like, the Star Trek economy is communist, something makes me think that people would have issues with that. But the fact that they basically do what we should all be doing, which is saying all the things that are communism, but just don't use the label communism, because then that gets people thinking about military hats and mustaches and gulags. And so you have to, like, just not use the word. Don't use the word that they've associated with, like, Cold War propaganda, and instead, like, think of it as, like, hey, wouldn't you like it if your boss didn't, like, you know, take all your money?
Though, in truth, he should have been arrested and stripped of his rank after the Federation regained control of the station. Odo's defenders might say that this isn't even light treason, because the Dominion occupation of Bajor was technically legal. After all, Bajor signed a treaty with the Dominion immediately before they arrived, effectively surrendering. However, a treaty signed under...
Private property is still a thing, but it seems to be purely for the enjoyment of doing old forms of work that aren't really necessary anymore. Yeah, that's true.
Duress and under threat is not signed in good faith. When fascists occupied France after the latter surrendered during World War II, that did not change the fact that France was threatened with war. It was not a peaceful coexistence, it was a military occupation, and one that was actively resisted by the people. Furthermore, the fact that Odo may have felt that he was serving the so-called legitimate government only bolsters the point that Odo cares more about order and maintaining the status quo than disrupting it. Odo served...
Leaves it more open for right-wing people to misinterpret it, though, I guess. But, like, it's pretty hard for, like, you know, conservatives who believe in capitalism to try and argue that a society with no money is, like, still capitalist.
Serves the order of whoever happens to control the space station. The Cardassian Union during the occupation, the Bajoran Provisional Government after the occupation, and the Dominion during part of the war. He might not see it that way, but that is still what happened. Odo's defenders might also say that he eventually made the moral choice and...
I mean, fascists in our day and age have taken the Punisher, a person who hates and often will kill cops, and has made him his symbol a symbol of, like, racist police officers. So, like, the right aren't very good at watching media. They don't really understand things very well.
Sided against the Dominion, but in later episodes it became clear that Odo sided with Bajor not out of moral obligation, but because he was in love with Kira. Now, Odo's defenders may claim his intentions are debatable, but the Season 7 episode Chimera leaves no ambiguity. A changeling, Laz, effectively reads Odo's mind while linked, and states in no uncertain terms...
I love that this episode, they added this new character for this one episode, but they just got this actor, and this actor plays another, like, kind of semi-regular character at this part of the show. And they're just like, we'll just put you in different makeup and no one will notice the difference.
That the only reason Odo is not out there fighting alongside the Dominion is because of his relationship with Kira.
Odo, we linked. I know the truth. You stayed here because of Kira.
Longtime fan. Thank you very much, Essen.
You would be with our people. War or no war, you would be a founder.
Odo's allegiance after he learns about his people is predominantly the result of his feelings for Kira, first suggested in the episode Heart of Stone, and later confirmed without a shadow of a doubt in Chimera. At the end of the series, Odo's desire to join his people in the Dominion finally comes true, as he offers to come home in exchange for the surrender of the
Oh shit, that's Martok? Yeah, it is. It's the actor who plays Martok. Yeah.
Female changeling. This is not some great sacrifice, it is literally what Odo has wanted since the beginning of the series. Odo not knowing who his people are and his desire to seek them out is his...
It seems like, yeah, it seems like they had a lot of trouble trying to get Odo to fit into the story that they were trying to weave.
Main character thread throughout seasons 1 and 2. Odo continued to want to join his people even after learning they were basically shaped...
Do I think people like Nick Fuentes will become Nazbols or Strasserites to appeal to the working class? For example, most red states like Medicare for All. I don't think it's going to be like people like Nick Fuentes. It's going to be people like Glenn Greenwald. It's going to be like Glenn Greenwald, Tulsi Gabbard, what's it called? Fucking Jimmy Dore, Lee Camp, like that gaggle of people I have the feeling are going to become the Nazbols at some point. Anybody who considers himself a leftist right now, and it seems like their biggest issue is quote-unquote woke scolds and quote-unquote identity politics, are the people that you should be keeping an eye on for possible Strasserism and Nazbolism in the future.
Genocide against billions of Cardassians. Odo rationalizes all of this by claiming that maybe he could change the Dominion. But history has shown that when Odo is linked, it is he who is manipulated. What's different this time? Because he's wearing a tuxedo? He just wants to rationalize joining the Great Link to Kira. As a side note, the Federation is extremely bad at treaties. First, their treaty with the Cardassians leaves some of their Federation citizens so vulnerable that it effectively kicks off another war in the demilitarized...
The problem with the Greenwald left, the biggest problem is that it seems to be like baked into like, what's it called? It's baked into the, like that, like this kind of anti-imperialism that is just that everything that America does is bad. And therefore, everything that opposes America is good by, like, transitive property. Even, like, right-wing dictatorships like Russia, or, you know, people who use fucking sarin gas on their own people, like in Syria. Like, those people are good because they're opposing imperialism. And then, yeah, then they also get, they seem to be more concerned about protecting these right-wing dictators. And at the same time, their biggest complaints always seem to be getting mad at, like, people of color and, like, LGBTQ plus people for complaining about racism and sexism and homophobia rather than, like, the issues of, like, capitalism and such. It's sort of a thing.
Zone between the Cardassians and the Maquis, and now the unconditional surrender of the Dominion results in the Federation having only one prisoner of war and seemingly no other major concessions. The entire Great Link, all of the founders, were presumably in favor of the war.
Like, there's this idea that with, like, people who are kind of leaning towards, like, Strasserist type thinking, is that the working class, you know, the working class is just assumed to be these, like, blue-collar, middle-aged white guys who like saying the N-word, which, like, is not really, like, the working class anymore. The working class is service workers. A lot of them are people of color. A lot of them are of marginalized groups because of Marxist hyper-exploitation, like women, people of color, LGBTQ plus people, people with disabilities. They tend to be economically worse off than the, like, white, blue-collar, cisgendered, straight guy that you're thinking of. And so the working class tends to be a very diverse mix. And then saying, I think that we should be explicitly alienating this other group of people because this other group of people want to say, like, racial slurs about them is, like, not exactly, like, the greatest thing.
And helped carry it out. But
the dirtbag left you're implying? Yeah, I guess that's, like... Although, like, the dirtbag left has sort of been used as a really weird snarl word and encompasses a lot of people that that doesn't apply to, and includes a lot of people that it shouldn't. Like, the dirtbag left was almost, like, invented to describe, like, the hosts of Chapo Trap House, and, like, they're not... I would not consider them super part of that. Maybe with the exception of Amber Frost or whatever, but like, I don't know, like, it's as good a term as any, but, like, it doesn't encompass everyone that it should encompass, and sometimes it encompasses people who shouldn't be encompassed, if that makes sense.
What? As far as we can tell, the Dominion gave up no territory in the Gamma Quadrant, only in the Alpha Quadrant. The territory that was not theirs to begin with. What is preventing them from rebuilding their military on their home turf and trying again? Tuxedo Odo? He has consistently proven that he cannot be trusted. Good riddance, Odo. Get back in your goo. In conclusion, the Dominion is a land of contrasts. Odo is a cop. He prefers order over actual justice, and his allegiance changes as suddenly and as easily as his body does. Oh yeah, and he makes passionate love to the female changeling while his friends are in prison. And that's just gross.
Oh, man. But by dirtbag left you would, but Xanderhall and Vosh in that category, also known... Well, it seems like Vosh spends most of his time getting mad at trans people, so I definitely put him in that, but I don't know about... I honestly don't know much about Xanderhall except for him having a sex cult. That's, like, the only thing I know about Xanderhall. Everything else is just through association with other, like, streamers that I'm not, like, the biggest fan of. What's it called? Doesn't he complain often about I don't know. I don't want to get into drama anymore. But complains a lot about trans people being overly sensitive or whatever. I don't know. What do I think about Hakeem? Great place to get glasses. Until I started getting my glasses through, like, online stores, Hakeem Optical was definitely the place that I would go. You can have it all at Hakeem Optical. It's for everybody here who lives in Ontario specifically. All right. So that was a fun video. We're going to talk a lot about Star Trek and not so much about the topic of the video, but that's all right. It's all right. What's it called? We're having fun, right? That's all that matters. is that we're having fun hanging out. So I haven't seen transphobia in his videos. I'm mostly thinking of things like his like, I don't know, just complain, like, whatever. Didn't Vosh defend himself saying the N-word? Yeah, he gave himself permission to use tactical slurs or something like that. I don't know. Honestly, he's just like not my bag, and I try not to pay attention to him, so I don't worry about him. I'm just like, I'm good. I just don't want to think about. I don't want to think about Vosh. I don't want to complain about him. I just want him to not be part of my life. Hope you had a great day. Love your work and perspective on things. You've been a big inspiration for me to get into history teaching. Much love, my dude. Well, thank you, Don Trump 901. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. That's so cool. Hakeem is a left-wing YouTuber. If he is, I don't know who he is. She, they. I know Hakeem Optical, the what's it called? The glasses store that you can go to in Ontario. Every time I complain about Vosh, I get like a message from one of my friends who says that I shouldn't be mean to Vosh because something he de-radicalizes Nazis and turns them into Nazbols, and that's good or something. So I guess I was like, okay, whatever. I guess it's like whatever you want to do. You do you. So I just don't talk about him anymore. Because I get too many messages from random people being like, you should probably not talk about this person. So this is called Make Mine Freedom. It's a 1948 video. I have no idea what this is. Series of films by Harding College to create a deeper understanding of what made America the place in the world. Okay. Anti-communist propaganda from the 50s. Oh, fun.
Many things to many people. To a 17-year-old kid, it's the malt shop on the corner.
Oh, man. Look at that dancing. America's dancing.
To Grandpa, it's the front porch in the cool of the evening. To Mother and her family, it's church on Sunday morning. And to Dad, it's his favorite relaxation.
So like, the important thing to know about this is that this is the kind of shit that boomers were watching when they were little kids, and it's why they suck when it comes to talking about socialism, because they make this like there's just this association that freedom, capitalism, democracy are all the same thing, and it's all associated with America, and that that this is like seriously, like they were showing this to like kids in first grade in public schools. So you can just imagine like what like how much dumb shit you have to like crack through.
It's the Cracker Barrel philosophers in Crabtree Corners. And it's the tycoons in Wall Street. It's all races, creeds, and religions. It's freedom to work at the job you like. Freedom of speech and to peaceably assemble. Freedom to own property. Security from unlawful search or seizure.
It's funny because like a lot of this stuff is just gone now anyway. A lot of these rights just don't exist anymore. Like, what's it called? The Fourth Amendment? What Fourth Amendment? America hasn't had the Fourth Amendment since 2002.
The right to a speedy and public trial. Protection against cruel punishments and excessive fines.
You think they're not going to talk about like what's it called? The freedom to take your employees' work and profit off of it yourself, or your freedom to avoid regulation, so that your freedom to destroy the collective common environment as much as you want. Like, it's like, okay, whatever. Didn't this come out when there was still legal segregation? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if when this video came out, because they showed an integrated school in that one shot, that people complained about it. I imagine that which would be super ironic.
To vote.
Yeah, there's a good one. There's only 2 constitutional amendments. The one that allows you to say racist stuff, and the one that allows you to become a mass shooter.
And to worship God in your own way.
Good birthday zone, thank you.
Have made America strong.
Ah! Got your birthday on Sunday, eh?
So we got our freedom, but management's lousing up everything.
Labor is at fault. It's ruining the country.
My constituents, as your elected representative, I can assure you Labor's right. Management's right.
Labor's rights and management's right. So this is still back when when people kind of saw labor in a good way. So that's something. That's a little bit more, a little bit more class conscious than we are today, by and large. This is like back in the 50s when like even the Republicans like would campaign on being pro-union. So there's that. Yeah, it is like saying like, we need to have rights between the people who work and the people who want to profit off of those other people's work.
Labor, management, politicians, phooey. They can't tell corn from oats.
Oh, and then that's them talking about how they don't know the difference between workers and what's it called? There's no such thing as classes in America.
Hurry, step right up, folks.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Ism. The fucking... Drink this fucking, what's it called? Snake oil of ideology. And now you're... now because of socialism, everyone's gonna hate each other. And it's like, oh, fucking shit.
The answer to your problems, Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, ism. Ism will cure any ailment of
It sounds so close to jism. I'm sorry, I had to mention that.
the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle...
It's probably like it's probably like... The reason why they said ism and not like straight up socialism is probably talking about fascism too and stuff like that. I don't know.
You'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes.
Yeah, that you say the ism for this guy is fascism, etc., etc. This is like the ultimate. This is basically looking at this. It sounds like this is like a cartoon that was like developed by centrists. This is like how centrists think. This is like horseshoe theory in action right here. It's like the epitome of what's it called? Epitome of centrist thinking here.
Remember, you're the big boss. Government control, no worry about votes. Name your own salary. Bigger crops, lower costs. Why, ism even makes the weather perfect every day. And now then, because we are introducing this amazing item for the first time in this country, it isn't going to cost you 1 cent. All you have to do is sign this little scrap of paper, and you get your bottle absolutely free.
I hereby turn over to Ism Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said Ism promises to take care of me forever.
Pardon me. Pardon me. And who are you, my good man?
I'm John Q. Public.
Ah, my fine friend, you're just in time to share this generous and gigantic offer. Sign right here.
No ism for me, thank you. It's fucking Joe Biden right here.
Read it first.
Hurry up,
This is like, oh my god, this is like literally how fucking like, what's it called? Like people who write for Vox think.
Keep your shirts on.
Because like, there's like one guy there who's like, I'm a racist, and the other ones are like, I'm going to die because I can't afford insulin, and he's like, these both sound like isms to me. Fuck this guy. Here's the problem. These guys fucking...
Boys, in a freedom. Freedom? Well, sign away my freedom. Why?
It's literally like, ism is like, the guy who's like selling ism, he's like literally saying like, believing in things. Believing things can be better for you. That's the real problem. That's the bad thing that we need to avoid.
This is ridiculous.
Don't be corny, brother.
Sure, our system of free enterprise isn't perfect. But before we throw it away for some imported double talk, let's turn the clock back a few years to see what it's done for us.
Oh, boy.
For example, back in the 1890s, Joe Dokes was just a guy who liked to tinker around his barn. Some people thought Joe was lazy. Some even thought he was nuts. But one day, he had an idea. And because
So this is like the Central American myth too, right? Like, if you, what's it called? If everybody has within them the potential to think of that one genius idea that'll make them rich and prosperous, and it's like, okay, sure. Like, that's like, you know, the fucking fairy tale version of how the world works. But, like, do you need, like, the thing is, like, first of all, you have to think about it from the inverse. Does that mean that you need to be, like, some sort of genius to be able to afford medicine and a house? I don't know if you know about this, but not everybody can be, like, turbo geniuses who invent, like, Facebook. Like, some people need... There are people who are perfectly average and not ambitious, and I hate to tell it to you. Maybe we don't see eye to eye on everything, but I think that people who are not extraordinary also deserve to have the material comforts that they deserve. Like, I think that regular people who aren't going to invent, like, I don't know, some way to turn poor people into fuel, maybe they also should have homes and food and things. I don't know. And then also, a lot of these people, like this guy, a lot of these people who invent amazing things would do so because, thank you, Comic-Con, for hosting. Maybe because this person doesn't have to spend 16 hours a day working in a mill, so he can just sit around and think of brilliant new ideas.
because he was free to dream his dream and tinker, Joe had a chance to make something of himself and his idea. So...
he invents the car. Thank you. Everyone's so nice. This is like the most like love bombing I've gotten for my birthday in my whole life. It's crazy. I love it.
Of course, some people didn't think.
Yeah, there's like one thing about socialism that everyone says is like, I'm not like what's it called? Capitalists are about promoting like the what's it called? The Thomas Edisons and the Albert Einsteins. And socialists are about all of the Thomas Edisons and Albert Einsteins who never got to do the work that they should have done for the world because they were poor or they were part of a marginalized class or something that kept them from being able to contribute to the world like other people have. That's like,
So much of Joe's idea, but that didn't stop him.
But if you think about it, like, this is the bullshit that Joe Biden grew up watching, and that's why Joe Biden and, like, most Democrats suck.
So Joe got some money from young Aunt Minnie.
Oh, my.
And Uncle Angus.
Oh, wow. Good thing he had that aunt and that uncle to give him money. Hey, thank you. Thank you for 500. Holy frick, 500 bits. Thank you. Much appreciated. Mwah.
And Grandpappy. And Mr. Titus.
Man, I wish I had a Grandpappy who had money in his mattress and a Mr. Titus. All you need is a small loan of $1 million. Yeah, exactly. Hope your birthday's awesome. Thank you, Comic-Con. I think it's going to be pretty fun. We're going to get some pizza. We're going to play Dungeons & Dragons with my friends. And then tomorrow's going to be a party. So I think it's going to go really well.
When Joe's friends and relatives used their savings to help him.
Then again, it seems like Bernie's been immune. Yeah, because while like everybody else was watching, like while all of these like pampered rich kids were watching these cartoons, fucking, what's it called? Bernie Sanders' family probably didn't even have a television because as far as from what I heard, like Sanders came from like extremely poor family.
Buy tools and property. They were capitalists.
Slimo playing with you? No, not on Fridays. I play with him on Wednesdays.
Now, naturally, Joe needed some help. So he hired Willie Lumpkin, who was out of work anyway, and before long, Willie had the know-how and became skilled labor. Because capital, management, and labor worked together, Joe's idea grew. It grew and did things even he never dreamed of. Today, the automobile industry provides millions of jobs that never existed before. And remember, this is a story of only one industry. There are thousands more scattered all over the United States whose history of development is...
It's like these management and labor all work together. Management walked away with a fuck ton more money than anybody in labor. So who got the better deal out of that?
Is pretty much the same. We've built a country under the
Albert Einstein was a socialist, yes, and he was also a pacifist.
And college than all the rest of the world combined. Why, even in the Depression, our wages bought more food, clothing, travel, and entertainment than the wages of any other people in the world. Our country has a national income equal to the total national incomes of any other 6 nations in the world. With only 7% of the Earth's, we drive 70% of the world's automobiles. That's just a sample of the things the capitalistic system has given us in only 160 years. Before signing up, you boys ought to try a little taste of Doctorism's formula to see what you'd get in exchange for your freedom.
Oh no.
Go ahead, try it.
Plus, like, what freedom, like, yeah, everybody here is white. So, yeah, what's it called? How much freedom is like the black sharecropper getting at this point, bud? Where's he? Is it somewhere in there? Is it somewhere hiding behind this tree here? Is that where the black sharecropper is? How much freedom does that guy get? How about all of the women? These are all dudes. Is there some women hiding that they're like, ooh, yeah, me too. Hashtag me too. Everything's going great. Capitalism's doing super great for us so far. Maybe one of these people is part of the LGBTQ plus identities. But you wouldn't know it. They can't say that. They can't. What's it called? They can't get married. They don't have. They're free to not be allowed to get married, or adopt kids, or you see where I'm going. Was sharecropping still a thing in 1948? I think it was to some extent. Yeah.
You can't do this to me.
So like this is like the thing. This is like what I'm learning very quickly. The difference between identifying as a capitalist and identifying as a white supremacist is almost the exact same thing. Capitalism is basically white supremacy, and supporting it is basically supporting white supremacy. Happy birthday from Italy. Well, thank you, Fabrizio. Fabrizio Mangione. Thank you. That's a really nice name. Yeah, just... Oh, goddamn. Just like... Because basically what he's saying is, like, you guys can all come together. You're all identified because you're all American. Real American. All of them are white men. You're all real Americans. Wink, wink. Like...
I'll strike!
The state forbids strikes.
Wait till the Union hears about this!
Ah, yes, the Union. Welcome to our ranks, number 1313.
I'll take this case.
Plus, also, yeah, this is saying, like, oh, man, all these things are bad because they're run by the state. And it's like, yeah, I guess. So, yeah, Stalinism is bad. That's true. This has nothing to do with communism, though, at all.
To the Supreme Court.
Oh, no, numbers.
The state is the Supreme Court. Our decision is as follows.
But the state is the Supreme Court. Like, even today. Do you think that the Supreme Court's like a private organization?
No more private property. No more you.
I mean, that was nice.
Voted put a stop to this.
Farmers don't vote anymore.
What'll they do for seed next year?
You won't have to worry about next year. The state...
Man, fucking Stalin ruined the perception. I don't know.
We'll do your planning from now on.
Nationalism and shit is just as bad as banning strikes. Yup.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person.
You know that Bonafetta. Thank you, much appreciated, and thank you for following Fex7098. Welcome to Orking. Racial hatred, really? Is it behind this tower, this little tower in the background here? Is that where the black person is in this country that gets to have a say in this thing? Where's what's it called? Everybody in this video so far has been a white man or a white lady or a black. There's like one black person I think I saw in this whole video, and they were like in the background of one shot. I'm wondering where this all is. Where's this post-ideological American society? Where's all the non-white people? They must have had race hatred or something. They must have done an ism. They were all getting drunk on ism, aren't they? Oh boy. Love the Amazon video, the thumbnail. Yes, thank you. I'm so embarrassed / proud of the Amazon videos thumbnail.
No violence, please. Hey, don't throw those bottles. Don't throw those bottles.
Working together to produce an ever...
I also do love that, like, they talk about how that one guy's freedom of speech was supplanted with state propaganda when, like, this is state propaganda. All right, okay.
Greater abundance of material and spiritual values for all. That is the secret of American prosperity.
Oh boy. What a fucking thing that was. What a way to end the stream on too. This propaganda isn't propaganda, it's patriotism. Oh yeah, that's shortcut. Oh man, that was a fucking ride, wasn't it? Yeah, holy shit. Okay. Well everybody, it is 1:58. I have to go shave my head and take a shower and all that kind of stuff because I haven't really done much of that today. So for everybody here, thank you guys all for coming out. It's been grand. I'll be back on Monday, hopefully with Mia. So hopefully we'll be all excited to have Mia back. Thank you for joining me, for having a little birthday shindig, and I hope that everybody. I'm gonna go take the buzzer to my head. I don't know how close I'm gonna cut it, but it's been really great. You guys have been awesome, and I hope to, I hope that things work out. I hope that you guys have a good weekend. I know that Thanksgiving was yesterday for a lot of Americans. That can be kind of lonely if you were following the rules and staying at home, but I appreciate you guys. I don't say that enough. We're gonna go raid Rocketansky. Yeah. Everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Love, peace, and, get high on ism, man. The best drug. Get yourself some ism today.